Hi friends, we'll start with atomic spectra. First of all, each element has a characteristic spectrum of radiation which it emits. Now when will the atom emit this? When electric current is passed through atomic gas at low pressure, then atoms give out radiation. And the interesting thing about this is they emit radiation of specific wavelengths only. The figure which you see is say for hydrogen. You see that there are some specific lines of specific wavelengths, and the atom gives out these wavelengths only. And if it emits, then it is known as emission spectrum, right? This is emission spectrum. Now when white light passes through a gas and we analyze the transmitted light, say using a spectrometer, we find that some lines are missing, or you can say there are some dark lines. And what can we say? We can say that these lines are absorbed. And interestingly, those lines or those wavelengths are exactly equal to those you find in emission spectrum. Observe this. And this is known as absorption spectrum when you have dark lines or missing lines. That is about atomic spectra. Each atom gives out some different spectral lines. And say this is for hydrogen. We are dealing with hydrogen because hydrogen is the simplest atom and it has the simplest spectrum. So let us try to analyze this first. These are the spectral lines given out by hydrogen atom, okay? And you see that there are all kinds of wavelengths, say 100 nanometers, and some are between 1000 and some are more than that also. It is a wide range, you observe this. But there is one thing interesting here. It will be good if you look at this picture now. You look that lines are grouped. Are you able to observe it? These set of lines are grouped, and again there is this set of lines which are grouped together, and similarly you have some groups. Are you able to observe it? Each of this group or each of this series is known as spectral series, and they have some names also. Well, one such series, that is Balmer series, was observed first by a scientist. Actually, he was not a scientist, he was a school teacher, by a school teacher named Balmer. This is the series, or these are the wavelengths that belong to the visible light region that are observed by Balmer, and these are for hydrogen. In the hydrogen emission spectrum, he found out that the emitted radiation had these wavelengths, this one, and some other. He had some numbers finally. And how are these related? Actually, Jacob Balmer was a school teacher and he did experiments and he found out these numbers. Well, that's fine, but he didn't know what to do this. He couldn't get any relation between this. But Balmer had a friend who is a maths geek. Once he came to Balmer and asked him to give something interesting, something to solve about maths. Then it seems, as I read in a book, Balmer gave him these numbers, 656.5 and all these numbers, and asked him to find a relation between them. And it seems that guy within a very short time came up with this relation. Of course, not exactly this relation, but something similar to this. Now let me tell you something about this relation. Here what is R? R is a constant. It is Rydberg's constant, and its value is according to Balmer, its value is 1.097 into 10 power 7 per meter. This is Rydberg's constant according to Balmer, and this is the accepted value now also. Now put values n is equal to 3 or 4 or 5 and so on. I mean n should be greater than 2. You observe that because finally you have to get a positive value, right? Now put n is equal to 3. You are going to get this line 656.5, that is the longest wavelength that corresponds to this Balmer series. This line will be red, and put n is equal to 4, you're going to get this line which is blue green, I guess, and put n is equal to 5, you're going to get this line, and so on. When you put n is equal to infinity, what are you going to get? You're going to get this number, which is the limiting value. And other series were also observed, like this region, and all the regions were observed, and they are now named as Lyman series, Balmer series, Paschen series, Brackett series, and Punt series. For Lyman series, you have 1 by 1 square minus 1 by n square. For Balmer series, you have 1 by 2 square minus 1 by n square. And for Paschen series, 1 by 3 square minus 1 by n square. And similarly for all of this. And for each of these cases, the n is greater than the respective what? This one, this number which is here in this place. And note these also. He said that electron revolves around the nucleus, right? But according to electromagnetic theory, any accelerating charge should give out radiation. And hence, if radiation is given out, it should lose energy. And finally, it should lose all of its energy and collapse into the nucleus, right? So this is something should happen. What should happen actually? But this doesn't happen. Electrons don't collapse into the nucleus, and explanation is not given by Rutherford's model of atom. So now we will discuss about a little more advanced theory or model of atom. It is known as Bohr's model of atom. Niels Bohr is the person who gave this model. He mainly gave three postulates. Don't read what is on the screen. First listen to me. If you want, later you come back and pause the video and have a look at it. First postulate is this one. He said that there were certain orbits or there were certain states of energy where when the electron revolves in those orbits, radiation is not given out. I mean, when the electron revolves in certain orbits, then the electron is stable without giving out any energy. So he called them as stable states. So when an electron revolves in these particular orbits, then it doesn't give electromagnetic radiation. Hence, it has a fixed amount of energy. And second postulate is that the electron, when it revolves in those particular states or orbits, he said that the angular momentum of that electron will be an integral multiple of h by 2 pi, where here in this equation n is an integer, note that. So he said that angular momentum L will be an integral multiple of h by 2 pi if electron revolves in those orbits. Third postulate is interesting. It gives an explanation for atomic spectra. He said that electron can make a transition from one of its specified non-radiating orbits to another of lower energy. And when this happens, he said that it gives out a photon. Look at these pictures, they'll give you a better idea. Electron can revolve in certain orbits where it doesn't radiate energy. That is the first one. And second one says that when it revolves, the angular momentum will be a multiple of h by 2 pi. So nh by 2 pi will be my angular momentum where n is some integer. And third postulate says that when an electron makes a transition from higher orbit to a lower orbit, it gives out a photon, and the energy of photon will be equal to the energy difference of those two orbits. In the previous video, we have seen that the radius of orbit r is given by e square by 4 pi epsilon naught mv square. And you may ask that this was for Rutherford's model. Actually, you might have observed that Bohr's model of atom has some similarities with that of Rutherford's model of atom. Actually, you can say that Bohr developed the model given by Rutherford. So, there even you had the model which was resembling solar system, right? Just like sun in the center and planets revolving. And similarly, you had nucleus at the center and electrons revolving. And even Bohr's model had the same structure. So this formula works here also, note that. And do you remember how we did this? Okay, I'll do it again. The centripetal force, which is mv square by r, is given by the electrostatic force of attraction, right? That is 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into charge, product of charges, and r square. So from this, you can say that r is nothing but e square by 4 pi epsilon naught mv square. So this was one relation we got. Now, by the second postulate of Bohr's theory, we can say that the angular momentum is an integral multiple, say n times h by 2 pi. Now, what is angular momentum of electron? It is revolving in circular orbits, right? So it will be m into v into r, where v is the velocity and r is the radius of nth orbit, right? So let me write as n, vn and rn. So it will be n h by 2 pi. Now I think the game is over because here r was unknown and v was unknown. But here we have another equation with v and r as unknowns, and the rest of these are constants, right? E, pi, epsilon, h. Of course, n varies. N can be 1 or 2 or 3. Let us find a relation in terms of n only. From this equation, I can write r as Rn as nh by 2 pi m into Vn, right? And from the previous equation of radius, I have R as E square by 4 pi epsilon naught m V square, right? From this part of equation, Vn is equal to E square by 2 epsilon naught n h. Of course, this is more commonly written as 1 by n E square by 4 pi epsilon naught and 1 by h by 2 pi. This is h by 2 pi. You find many equations written in the form of 4 pi epsilon naught and h by 2 pi using these terms, and hence this is written that way. And put the value of Vn in MVR is equal to nh by 2 pi, that equation. You are going to get Rn as n square by m and h by 2 pi whole square and 4 pi epsilon naught by e square. So in this equation, put n is equal to 1. You will get R1 as 5.29 into 10 power minus 11 meters. Everything else is constant, right? Just put n is equal to 1, you're going to get this value. This R is known as Bohr radius. This is the radius of first orbit of hydrogen atom. And if you put the same R value in terms of n in the energy formula, you're going to get minus m e power 4 8 n square epsilon naught square h square. So are you supposed to remember all these complex terms and all the values of these constants also? No, I wouldn't suggest you. All these are constants, right? When you put them and get the value directly, you will write this one as this: joules 2.18 into 10 power minus 18 joules by n square. Of course, there's a negative sign, don't forget it. This is written in terms of electron volts as minus 13.6 electron volts. Observe that here it was joules and here it is electron volts. Both are units of energy only. 1 electron volt is 1.6 into 10 power minus 19 joules. So I would rather suggest you to remember this one. This is simple, right? And note that the energy is negative here. Greater the orbit is, the greater the value of n is, more the energy will be. So the electron in the first orbit will have the least energy because this will have the most negative value, that is the least value. And more the orbit is, larger the value of energy will be. So more near to zero it will go from the greatest negative value. And hence higher the orbit is, more will be the energy. And so when an electron makes a transition from higher orbit to lower orbit, what will be the energy difference? It will be EI minus EF, right? So my final orbit, say it is this one, and if initial orbit is somewhere here, from higher orbit to lower orbit, this is higher, right, in energy, including the sign. So my this energy should be positive finally, and that will be the energy of that photon emitted. And note one more thing: the electron, when it is in the lowest energy, that is lowest possible energy state, then it is known as ground state. Here it is 1. When n is equal to 1, the electron has the least possible energy. Note that, greatest in magnitude, but you have a negative sign, so the energy will be least when n is equal to 1. That's why it is ground state here. And the energy you need to supply to pull out the electron from this ground state to completely infinity, so to separate the electron from the atom, that energy is known as ionization energy. So when an electron is in its n is equal to 1 state, then it is in ground state in hydrogen atom. When it is in the second orbit, it is in first excited state. When it is in third orbit, it is in second excited state. Note that, and so on. And so now you might have understood why this spectra happens, why some wavelengths are emitted, because of these transitions only. But there are some limitations. In the next video, we'll discuss about the line spectrum emitted by hydrogen atom in a great detail, and also the limitations of Bose model of atom. So keep watching. That's it for now. Bye.